rolling.
Hi, thanks for having us here visiting SurveyMonkey headquarters. Yeah.
Our pleasure.
Yes, it's very nice to be here in the city office. It's a nice company. It seems very comfy, very good to work here. Do you like to work here?
SurveyMonkey is a great place to work. It's we like to call ourselves a grown-up startup.
Okay.
So, we have been down here since 2009, even though the company started in 1999. So
Okay.
it's already had a very rich background and a very stable business, but a lot of infrastructure that needed to be updated. So we thought that no better place to do that than in the heart of Silicon Valley.
Oh, very good. And I would like to know a little bit more about you. What do you do here? Could you present yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Bennett Porter, and I am the Vice President of Marketing and Communications here at SurveyMonkey. I have been with the company for over 2 years,
Yes.
and it's grown substantially since I've come on board. But it's been fantastic in terms of what I was looking for. And my next job was to work someplace that was really in startup mode
Okay.
and really had a big mission. And SurveyMonkey mission is to help people make better decisions, and you can't get much bigger than that.
Very good.
I started in advertising and PR.
Okay. This is very nice because I have a background in advertising.
Yeah. So kindred spirits. I started, in the streets of Madison Avenue.
Wow, the best place for advertising, really.
So it was quite a journey, and I took a little bit of a left turn, and during the dot-com
Okay.
boom, when there were all these tech companies, and it became somewhat addictive to work in tech. A lot of my clients were technology companies that were going public or starting up, and they had these weird names. And then there was
Okay.
really one weird one called Yahoo. That
Yahoo.
was starting up, and so I went and I worked at Yahoo, where I was at for over a decade.
Nice. So I was going to ask you, how do you jump from advertising to startup world, but you already told me this is quite nice. So was it basically your clients that drove you that way?
Yes.
And after you got into tech, never?
Never looked back.
Okay.
So yeah, it was funny because when I started my career, I've always found people smarter than myself helping me in my career. And I started after graduate school wanting to really be in public policy and public affairs and wanting to do that type of government relation work because I felt like it was very worthwhile. And so when I went down and I interviewed in that group, they said, I think you'd be better off in the consumer group. And I says, well, okay, well, I'll try that. God knows I need a job. And so I would go up, and I just took to working with, Garnier, L'Oreal, Duracell batteries, Seagram's.
Big clients.
Big clients. It was at Ogilvy, so very, very marquee clients, and I've always worked on the integrated teams. So when they were doing events and they were doing PR and they would be doing ad campaigns, I got to work on the communication side of that. And then I jumped agencies, and the specialty was consumer tech. So it was taking consumer, sort of consumer messaging to technology, and that was for IBM and for Intuit. And I still played around with things like Absolute Vodka, but my real focus was on technology, and that's when you saw it was just at the right time, at the right wave, and that's what really got me interested in technology.
Do you believe that momentum was like the momentum of, I don't know, synchronicity or coincidence of your life?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was definitely one of those lucky chances that happened for sure, because it was right in the middle of this boom. It was right, I was in the right place at the right time where, and really there's been a challenge, I think, for technology companies to really translate what their value proposition is to really become consumer tech brands.
Really?
And those that do it really well obviously thrive. And those that don't, I think, that's really what sets people apart. And what's been really interesting for me now is before, it really only translated to the consumer technology, right? So it would be consumer-facing technology. So things like Airbnb, Facebook, Google, Yahoo, eBay. But now you see that trend happening in more of the traditional, sort of enterprise businesses, which is where SurveyMonkey comes on board.
Okay.
Because, it's becoming as important to have a consumer-facing brand for these companies, you know, like Evernote, Dropbox, Box, as people demand the functionality and the ease and the elegance of their consumer technology now in their enterprise software. And so that's kind of where this next wave of innovation is happening, and it seemed like a great place to be.
Very good. And well, how is it like to be a woman in this tech world? Because you came just in a boom time, so it was probably different back then. And how was in the beginning? Were you one of the few women, and now can you see more women working with tech and so on and helping to innovate like the tech world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always been women in technology. There were definitely fewer. What I think has been interesting is the number of true women founders has grown exponentially since when I started.
Yes.
But I think that what's been really interesting is the support that before women in tech, I think, seemed to be very much islands in and amongst this industry. And now the amount of support that they have, and the amount of folks that you can see, people now that have been in the industry for 15, 20 years, really supporting those coming up, whether that, and also an understanding that, kind of the rare breed is a female tech lead. So our SVP of engineering and product is a female, and she is only still one of the few women that lead a team of engineers, right? So that's still incredibly rare. But what we realize is whether you're in the technology or whether you're in the marketing side or whether you're on the business side or the sales side, we're all women in tech. And so I think that that's been something that has broadened people's minds about working in tech.
Really good. And we were talking a little bit about the city before. You grew up in New York. And when did you move to San Francisco, Palo Alto? What are the main differences between those cities? How do you feel about it?
Well, I grew up in Colorado, in the middle of the United States. But then I moved to New York and started my career I went to graduate school in upstate New York, and then it was really to the city a young woman must go. And so I lived in New York for over a decade also, and like I said, started there. And then I actually, with Yahoo, got the opportunity to move to Asia.
Ooh,
so I lived
Asia first, okay.
Yeah, so I lived in Singapore for almost 4 years, and then I just moved back to the United States and in Palo Alto for the past 2.5 years. So the difference that I feel, or it's been a fantastic and a phenomenal opportunity to live overseas, and I would highly recommend anybody to do that, to just understand the different ecosystems and how they evolve and translate, especially in technology. But there's definitely a different culture, whether you're in New York or whether you're in Asia or whether you're in Palo Alto. It's very different in terms of the pace is very different. But I think that every single one of those places has a tremendous specialness in my heart because they're just phenomenal places to be.
And do you have a favorite place? Can you say that you have a favorite place?
Oh, it depends on what the definition of favorite is. I mean, New York will always be home, always feel like home to me. But I think that truly just how cosmopolitan a place like Singapore is phenomenal. Plus the food in Singapore is fantastic. But Palo Alto is home, right?
Okay.
And also it was different phases of my career, right?
Oh,
so
yes.
Living in Palo Alto now with 3 children, there is nowhere better on earth to be.
I was going to ask you that, but by the way, you have children? Because here seems a place that I would say, well, when I have kids, I would move here.
That's right.
It seems great. It seems nice town, and with a lot going on as well. So it's good. Yeah,
no, it's a phenomenal place to raise kids. I mean, I couldn't raise kids in New York, right? And 2 of my children were born in Asia, and it was a great place to be, and a great place to raise kids to again give them a broader worldview. But in terms of Palo Alto, the moment that I moved here and I was able to pull my car up to my house and just unload everybody in one trip without going up 7 flights of stairs and schlepping like the trolley and the groceries, it was truly an elation, and I was like, it's worth living here just for this.
Oh.
And you can't beat the weather, so it's a great place for children.
And do you speak Mandarin, and the kids speak Mandarin?
My kids do speak Mandarin, actually.
Oh.
I do not. So they talk about me in front of me in Mandarin.
And then you have no idea.
And I have no idea until they snicker that they actually said something. So, and that literally was just from living overseas. It was not something that we planned, but since they were working, we were living overseas, and they learned how to speak Mandarin. I was like, okay. I took a semester of it in college, and I was miserable.
I have German, and I thought it was so hard. So it was like my dream to learn Mandarin was long gone when I started German.
I can barely speak English, so anybody that can speak another language, I have high regard for.
It's not easy. Well, this is more a personal question, but how do you manage all this, like family and work? Do you have like a support of other people? How can you manage all these and also be the VP of marketing and communications of a nice, great company?
Well, I have to say that a lot of the reasons why I can do all of it is because of SurveyMonkey. Because it is a very special place in the sense that I get to do a job that is just as exciting and just as demanding and just as big as any of these other companies, but I get to go home at 5:30 and spend time with my kids, and that's just because of the culture we have here. A lot of startups is you really actually just start doing business around 4 o'clock in the afternoon because you've spent all day in meetings, right? And you kind of work until that time between 4 and 10 p.m. is when you got a lot of work done. And when I was in New York, when I was at Yahoo, which was a very different place and time, that's what it would be, is we would kind of stop working around 6 or 7 o'clock, right? Until midnight, and then you grab dinner around 11:30 because and it was just impossible to do. But at SurveyMonkey, we've really strived to make this a very family-friendly place because we realize this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we're building a business, right? And when you look at something as big as what we're doing, which is helping people make better decisions based on data. Right, what we want to do is really change the way people think about and use a very old-fashioned tool in a very sort of 23rd century way. So we know to do that, we need to make sure that this team is here for the long run, and we don't want to burn people out. So we want people to have families and go and enjoy life, and we all log in after our kids go to bed. Or we all put in the long hours when need be. But the reason why I'm able to do all of these things, besides having a supportive husband and a fantastic nanny, is I feel very lucky to have chosen a place like SurveyMonkey. So
it is very, very important, like, to combine your personal life with your company. So it reflects on the value of the company. Like, so if you feel like, as you said, it's a marathon, you can't burn people out. So.
You can't burn people out, and I think that a lot of folks feel like if I'm not sleeping under my desk, am I really getting that startup experience?
Yeah, workaholic thing, it's over, and it's not nice to be a workaholic anymore. Like, okay, now we're being a little bit of a workaholic here, the guys and I, but well, it's okay. We're in the beginning, we have to run.
That's right. It's I think there is a time and place, and again, everybody. There are times where teams are sleeping under their desks, but there are times when we all go out and enjoy the California sunshine together. And it's like we want to see our kids grow up, and we want to be with our family and friends. And I think that you're able to do that when you have a long-term vision for your business, and that's really a nice thing that we've done here.
Very good. I would like to ask you, what do you do as a VP of marketing and communications? I really want to know because this is my background. Before getting into startup business, I always thought I would work in a big corporation as, I don't know, in the marketing and communications field.
Sure.
Life drove me in different ways, but it's nice to be in touch with someone that does what I always thought I would like to do.
Well, I mean, heading up marketing and communications here at SurveyMonkey is a fantastic job. My day-to-day is never the same.
That's what I like the most.
And so you get to meet interesting people like yourselves.
Nice.
But my team and I's main mission is to help in this defining time of what we're trying to do at SurveyMonkey, right? So we're talking about a tool that's been around for more than 10 years, right?
Yes.
But is in really a really a pivotal moment right now where we're trying to redefine what we do, which is a survey tool, right? So people not familiar with SurveyMonkey is basically our business is you're like, I need to survey people. Before you used to send a paper and pencil survey in a form, or you started with a clipboard on the corner and do that. And people
have that image that was boring, so you have to break.
So that's the actual challenge. Is then you're taking that tool and then the team before us really kind of built the best online tool to kind of translate that into the digital world. And now what we're doing is we're taking that tool and really turning it into a platform.
Okay.
So the platform is really a decision-making platform where we help you along each step of the way, right? So before, it's a very intimidating process to start a survey, right? So we help you on the creation side. So we've put into place a bunch of tools to help it make it easier for people to create a survey. So things like Question Bank, right, where you can, God knows, not all of us love to write questions, but you
have to write it right.
So you don't have leading questions.
Yes, being a researcher as well also, I know that you have to really pay attention, like, the dot that you put over there. Yeah, so it's very nice that you give people that support.
Yeah, so we give people that support on the creation side. Then we make it easier for you to distribute your surveys. So whether that's via social media applications, so we have a Facebook plugin,
finding
for
people
Twitter.
that are willing to answer.
Finding people are always a problem, right? So we have SurveyMonkey Audience here in the United States that allows people to find respondents. So if you are trying to develop a workout app for busy women, you can get the opinion of 500 women who have a smartphone. And so we have that to make it easier for you to kind of collect your data. And then obviously on the analysis end, so if you're like us, right, that are more tend towards the marketing part of our jobs, we need pretty charts and we need to understand the data to make a better decision. So making the analysis easier and more dynamic and making it something that allows sort of those numbers to speak to us. So that's what the team's been really focused on. So for us,
nice because there are a lot of problems there for people, like writing questions, finding people, analyzing all the information. So SurveyMonkey has a lot of work to do. So it's good. It's perfect.
We want to take a lot of those pain points out. So for us, it's getting that message to the market, right? Which is. And it's really challenging. Like a lot of people were like, oh, it's like SurveyMonkey is such a crazy name. Don't you have problems with the monkey part as a marketing professional? It's like, no, I have a problem with the survey part because the survey part boxes people into the way that you think about how you could use the tool.
Yes.
But actually, what was one of the big elations and where I saw a lot of opportunity as a marketing professional is this tool is so easy and so flexible that you can, whenever you need to gather sort of data, in a constructed way, in a way that needs to be useful. This is a tool that you can use for. So I'm scheduling a conference call, right? If you're doing it globally, which I'm sure you guys are doing, it's really hard. But with something like, okay, just pick these times. You don't need to be a methodologist to do that, but people use it all the time. Use SurveyMonkey to do things like schedule conference calls, or which desk do you like better, right? You don't need to be a methodologist, but we're setting a survey. Which desks are you more comfortable in? What would you like for lunch on Thursday? Those are things that the tool is simple enough. And before it would be a string of emails or hallway conversations, and now you can just send out a quick SurveyMonkey survey and you can get that data back, and so you can take action upon it faster in real time. So we really do think that that's something that could truly make the world a more efficient place, at least.
You're helping people to communicate in better ways.
And have fun doing it.
Yeah. And talking about fun, do you have any fun research that you have seen that people have used SurveyMonkey for?
Oh my! And again, this is never in our wildest dreams would we have ever come up with some of the ways that SurveyMonkey is being used by our customers. But I've seen SurveyMonkey used for to write plays. Okay. So we know some playwrights in New York that are doing off-Broadway productions. And they are doing things like writing about like you know, how, you know, what's women and sexuality and what their story is. And they've collected their stories using SurveyMonkey. And I've looked at things like fifth graders wanting to change their school lunches because they're so sick and tired of the quality of their lunches. So they had to go and present to the board of education.
Those kids will be great entrepreneurs. They are already. Like,
so they did a survey. They're like, this is what we like. This is what we don't like.
And this is the survey to
this
prove.
This is the survey that proves what our constituents want, right? So change our lunch. So again, a fifth grader is using it, you know. So and we've seen it to plan weddings. We've seen, you know, such great use cases, and it's amazing what people do with it. So it's a lot of fun to work on a product that has such broad use and brings people a lot of joy.
Very nice. And do you have any kind of advice for young entrepreneurs or for us? Like, what should we do? Like, not that we should do, but maybe something. What we could do for our lives or behavior to get into this tech world.
What I would say to you guys in terms of advice for entrepreneurs is really you can't not know enough about your constituents.
Yes.
Right? And so gather as much insight as you can about the people that you're trying to reach. And that will help. At some point in time, you're going to have to make a gut call.
Yes.
And you should always be ready to do that. So I would say, you know, one thing that you should do is when you're looking for data, a lot of times people just go and gather as much data as possible, which is what I just told you to do. However, I would advise, unless you are willing to take an action on that data, don't collect it. So there are some things that are sacred to you as you start your business, right? If you know that something is sacred, like let's say, for example, names of companies are very sacred to founders, right? They're not willing to change names.
Yes.
Then don't ask people the opinion of your name if you're not willing to change it, right? But those are some use cases that we've seen people. It's like, oh, you know, I'm looking, what do you think of this name, you know? And so, but
you have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared to take advantage or to ask people. And if you're not willing to do that, don't ask. Because that, if you think of a survey as a conversation, right? It has to be two-way, and you have to respect that conversation. And if you don't, then your constituents are going to be turned off. Yes. So that would be the advice I'd give you guys.
No, very nice. I believe there are many people that think that research, it's like I will go and validate those hypotheses. But actually, when you go to the field and you talk to people and you receive answers, you have to be open to listen to them, because you will have a lot of negative feedback, and you have to be prepared to hear that.
You have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared, and this is the same with your personal life, like for the company as well.
That's right.
This is true. Very nice talking to you.
Great.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I had a lot of fun also.
Great, thanks.